Hi everyone, I'm Salvatore Barbera and I'm an activist and a campaigner. I'm also the founder of Latte Creative, the social impact agency that has created Co-Impact, a European program that wants to teach young grassroots activists how to become a campaigner. Today we will talk about advocacy and lobbying, two important strategies that has helped countless activists, movements and non-profit organizations to create a positive impact on the society. By the end of this video, you will learn three things. 1. What's the difference between advocacy and lobbying? 2. How to create a successful campaign strategy? 3. We will see some real examples of campaigns that has used these tools to create a successful result. So, let's begin. Let's start to talk about advocacy and lobbying. Advocacy involves mobilizing people, create awareness, create and shape a public opinion on your cause. There are thousands of activities you can do. This can be organizing an action or a mobilization, writing an article on a newspaper, or run a social media campaigns. You can also run educational campaigns to your activists to be more aware and support you in a different level. All this activity creates an indirect pressure on the decision makers and is fundamental for the second part of the work, that is the lobbying. Lobbying, on the other hand, involves directly speaking to the people who make the policies. People like politicians or governmental officials to get specific changes or law passed. Lobbyists hold focus meetings, have a direct conversation and negotiate with the people who have the power to approve or block decisions. When lobbyists meet these policymakers, they usually come prepared with clear ideas, evidences, numbers and proposals, building upon the momentum and support created by advocacy. Imagine you really care about the environment and climate change. I hope this is really the case. Advocacy could mean organizing marches to raise awareness, sharing important messages on social media, or even running workshops in your neighborhood. Lobbying then takes all that community support you have built and bring it directly to decision makers. You might schedule a meeting with the governmental officials, with the politician. You will explain clearly why changes are needed and suggest specific actions that can take, like new laws or regulations. So, how do we build an effective campaign? Let's take a step back and think about what really makes campaigns succeed. Great campaigns don't just happen by chance. They require clear thinking, strategic planning, and thoughtful execution. When you are preparing your campaign, it helps to ask yourself three important questions that can guide you in the right direction. So, let's now take a closer look at these three questions and learn about the tools that you will need to master them. First, what is our goal and how we will achieve it? This is what the theory of change comes into play, helping you to outline your vision and the concrete steps needed to reach your objectives. 2. Who holds the power to make this change happen? This question involves power mapping, which help you to understand exactly who has the ability to influence your campaign objectives and how you can engage them effectively. 3. How do we tell a story that drives changes? This is the story arc, and it helps you to craft and share your campaign message in a way that deeply connects with people and inspires them to act. Let's explore these methods in more detail now. Now, let's talk about theory of change. This is one of the most important tools, and there are lots of templates you can start with. The one you see in this presentation is the one that you can download from the Co-Impact website. It's something that you can fill in alone or much better with your team and group of activists. So this is a template that you need to think from the right to the left. So we start from the end of the story and we go backwards to find the activities that we need to do. So we start by defining the long-term change that we want to see. This is our final goal, the impact we want to achieve to our campaign. It's important to be as specific as possible. Instead of saying we want to fight climate change, we could set a clear goal. Let's make an example. We want our city to transition to 100% renewable energy by 2030. Let's talk about theory of change. Theory of change is the first things you have to do it and is an extremely powerful tool. Here you can see in the slide a template that we will use and that you can also download from the Co-Impact website. The first thing is that you need to fill in this kind of templates from the right to the left, so from the end of the story to the beginning. So let's start to see on the right. On the right side you find the long-term change that you want to see. So this is our final goal, the impact we want to achieve to our campaign. It's important to be as specific as possible. Instead of saying we want to fight climate change, we could set a clear goal. Let's make a clear example that we will follow up during this section of the video. So we want our city to transition to a 100% renewable energy by 2013. So this is the final objective of your campaign that you will write on the right side of this template. So using this example, let's move to the left side. Next is, what are the wider benefits of our work? Achieving your goal, like transitioning to renewable energy to 100%, will have a ripple effects. If you push for renewable energy, for example, you will have a cleaner air, you will have new green jobs, you will have less people that are sick and there are people that are healthier. And it's very important that you write down and identify these benefits, because this will help you to communicate what is the effect of your campaign. It will be more important for people to know that they will have a cleaner air perhaps than only knowing that their energy is 100% renewable. Use all of them for your benefit. Now let's move further left in the template and let's talk about the measurable effects of our work. This is how we know if you are making progress, so it's very, very important. Think of it as a checklist to see along the ways to see if you are moving in the right direction. For example, in a campaign for renewable energy, a measurable effect could be that the city council approves a proposal to increase solar panel installation on schools, or for example, local businesses committing to use clean energy for their activities. These are real, trackable changes that show our efforts are making an impact. So it's very important to recognize these results. Next step is to outline the step needed to create change. This is really the heart of our campaign strategy. For example, we could organize a public event, we could open an online petition, we could meet with the local leaders, or run a campaign on media and newspapers. Each of these steps move us closer to our goal. Now it's the time to write our entry points. These are the best ways to connect with the people we need to reach. For example, this could be social media, local events, community meetings. It's a little bit similar to the one we discussed before, but that are more concrete action, whereas these are the channels we will use it. It's very important to choose the right channels, because this makes sure that our message is heard by the right people. Now, one step to the left, and we talk about our key audiences. These are the people who have the ability to support or influence the change we want to create. For example, in our renewable energy campaign, this could be the policymakers in the city hall, could be the business leaders that we want them to go green. It can be also journalists or a community group of other organizations. It's very important to understand who they are, and this will help us focus our energy where it matters the most. Last step, on the far left, we have to answer the question, what is the problem that we are trying to solve? This is the foundation of our campaign. For example, in the clean energy campaign, the problem might be that the city relies too much on fossil fuel, and this is leading to pollution and climate impact. Clearly defining this problem ensures whether we stay focused and can communicate why the change is needed. It helps us make our action targeted, impactful and meaningful. By following this process, we turn big ambition into actionable steps, making our advocacy and lobbying efforts structured and effective. By following these steps and filling in a document like the one we presented, it helps you to transform your big ambitions in concrete steps that you can follow one by one to reach your goals. Now that we learn how to fill in the theory of change template, I would like to tell you a concrete campaigns that I was involved in 2006. Is I Love Lis campaign that asked the Italian state to recognize the deaf people language. At the time, Italy didn't recognize the sign language as an official language, whereas many other countries did. So starting from our final objective, that was the language to be recognized, we went through the theory of change template and we fill in all the activities that we want to do. This is both an advocacy and a lobby campaign. And we did advocacy through online petition with a change.org petition that collected over 120,000 signatures. We organized the presence, for example, at the concert at Primo Maggio, that is one of the biggest and important concerts in Italy, where a group of young deaf activists from the stage performed a touching song with Daniele Silvestri, a very famous singer in Italy. And at the end of the song, they asked all the audience, tens of thousands of people, to do the biggest deaf applause, that is like this, in the history of Italy, that was also streamed in the national television. On top of the advocacy activities, we did lots of lobby activities, and we reached the president of the parliament and the president of the senate that invited us and the deaf activists in the parliament to talk about a request. And after a few years of campaigning, we got these great results. And now in Italy, the deaf language, the LIS, is recognized as an official language. Now let's talk about Power Map. As before, you see here a template that you can download from the website. And the power mapping is a tool that helps us to understand who holds the power in a system and how we can influence them to create the change. Not everyone has the same level of power. Some people are key decision makers who can directly implement change, while others have influence through their connections, reputation, or expertise. Then there are those who might resist our cause, and understanding their position is just as important as knowing our allies. On the power map, we typically organize individuals or organizations along two key axes. There is the vertical axis and the horizontal axis. On the vertical axis represents the power. So up is more power and below, of course, is less power. How much decision-making authority or influence someone has over the issues that you are campaigning for. At the top, you have the most powerful people, such as in this case that we worked before, the people from the city hall, or the corporate executives, or the key policymakers. At the bottom, you have the individuals or groups with little power, but who may still play a role as supporter or activist. On the horizontal axis represents support or opposition. Whether someone is likely to back your cause, remain natural, or actively resist it. On one end, you have the strongest allies, on the right hand, the people that are already committed to your campaign. In the middle, you find the people who are undecided and could be influenced to move to the right side of the graph. And on the left side, you have the opponents, the people or the institution that might try to block you and to stop your campaign. To talk about the power map, I would like to recall another campaign I was involved. It's a little bit old, it was from 2006, and it was called Green My Apple. In that time, Apple was using a lot of hazardous chemicals in their products, and us, as Greenpeace International, we want to change it. At that time, social media were just at the start, but there was lots of blogs and what was called the blogosphere. It was extremely influential. Apple can rely on a huge amount of fun and also people that write on tech blogs that was actually loving them. And so we didn't want to get a contrast and actually want them to be on our side. So actually the campaign was called Green My Apple. I love my Mac, I just wish it comes in green. So our message was let's make Apple better and more sustainable and something that we can be proud of. So of course in the power map we have Steve Jobs and all the Apple representatives to be extremely powerful but not so close to our request. And on the other side we have lots of blogs that were less influential but they can be very important for Apple to be heard because they were influencing both their customer and all the media that were talking about Apple. So our strategies was to really get in contact with these tech influencers, and we did lots of online and offline activities that were really tailored for them. They can be understood, they were talking their languages, and little by little we gain their trust. We talk with them with different also more like lobbying, not only advocacy but reaching them directly. And at the end, after 2 years of campaigns, Steve Jobs announced publicly a greener Apple, a new policy that rid of the toxic chemicals that we were asking. So right now I'm very proud that Apple is actually greener than what it was before our campaign. Now let's go to the third and final tool that we will discover during this course. Let's talk about the story arc. People connect deeply with stories, not just with facts and data. Stories makes humans feel something, and when we feel something, we are likely to take action. The story arc helps us to structure our message in a way that draws people in, that keeps them engaged, and ultimately that moves them to take action. Every good story has a few elements that are always the same over thousands of years of human history. One is the hero. The hero is normally and usually yourself, your organization, or the people that are directly affected by the issue that you are fighting for. The hero is one who takes action and drives change. For example, let's start with a story. Let's think about that you are leading a campaign on ban plastic waste in your city. You are the hero of this story, stepping up to solve the problem that others are ignoring. Then there is the problem, so the challenge or an injustice that needs to be overcome. The problem should be clear and urgent. In our example, the problem is a plastic pollution harming marine life and damaging the local environment. If no one takes action, the issue can go only worse and worse. Then the hero in this situation take a journey. The hero faces obstacles and finds support along the way. Maybe you organize a beach cleanups and awareness campaigns, but face resistance from businesses and city offices who argue that banning plastic is too expensive. Here it comes the mentor. The mentor is really important that you think carefully is the mentor of your story. In this example, perhaps is an experienced activist or an environmental lawyer that help you, guides you, teach you how to negotiate with decision makers and rally public support. Along this journey, you also discovered your gift that is normally given by your mentor. For example, it can be the ability to mobilize people. It's the ability to tell compelling stories like you are learning today, or to build strategic allies. And then there is a resolution. A story should leave people with a sense of hope and show that change is possible. In our example, after months of petition, public meetings and lobbying, the city finally implements a plastic ban. So you arrive to a new world. You started from a world full of plastic, and your story ends up in a world where there is no more plastic in the beach and the marine life can live safely. Then there is a journey. So if you look at the slide here, that is actually one map that has been given to us by Brian Fitzgerald and the Dancing Foxes, that are some friends and some of the best campaigners in the world. During the journey, our hero face obstacles and find support along the way. Maybe you organize beach cleanups and awareness campaigns, but face resistance from businesses and city officials who argue that banning plastic is too expensive. Here arrives a mentor. Perhaps in our example can be an experienced activist or an environmental lawyer that guides you, teach you how to negotiate with decision makers and help you to organize public support. Along this journey, you also discover your gift. Your gift normally is given by the mentor. For example, could be that you learn how to mobilize people. You learn how to tell compelling stories or how to build strategic allies. And then there is the end of the story. Every story needs to finish. And the resolution, every story should leave people with a sense of hope and show that change is possible. This is very important to give the vision of how the world will look like. In our example, after months of petition, public meetings and lobbying, the city finally implements a plastic ban. This is the end of your story. You win, you reach your goal. At the end, the beaches are clear, marine life has recovered, and your leadership has made a real difference. So you always have to try to create a story that, starting from a problem, arrive to a solution and to a better future. So, using the story arc in your advocacy work, help your audience to connect with your cause on a personal level. Instead of just presenting data, you give them something to relate to, something to believe in. And when people believe in a story, they are more likely to join the fight and take action. Talking about story arc, it comes to my mind one other campaign that I was involved. It was 2011, and in Italy there was a referendum where the Italian public should decide if to go on with nuclear or not. It was very difficult. The objective was clear: to bring at least 50% of the voters to the election and to get the majority of them to vote against nuclear. We needed a very strong story and compelling and exciting, and so we launched I pazzi siete voi. It's you who is crazy. The story starts with the 7 heroes, 7 young activists that decide to close themselves in an apartment and live there for 1 month closed with the same rules that people from Fukushima was living in those days. It was in March that there was a big accident, as you know, in Fukushima, and people there were living closed with canned food, and so the crazy ones did. This was very inspiring, especially for younger generation, and from that house, with a 24 hours live cam, they start to send message to everybody to ask support. So if they were the heroes, Greenpeace Italy was the mentor, the people that support them during all this voyage, that help them to distribute their videos on Greenpeace channel, but also to organize some really iconic actions with them. One very important was a nuclear bin, very big, that was positioned in the center of Rome, where 3 of these young people lived for 2 weeks. Thanks also for this campaign. In June 2011, more than 57% of the people went to vote, and it was the first time in 20 years that the referendum reached more than 50%. And out of these, 97% of the voters voted to stop nuclear. This was a very successful campaign, and this story helped the campaign to reach people that otherwise wouldn't have cared. So story arch is very important, and is the way that you really can talk to your audience and succeed. So now that the video is ending, I would like you to take a moment and think. Which cause you will work on? What do you want to change? Thank you so much for following us, and let's keep in touch.